How to use Firebase Auth to build a sign-up screen, sign-in screen, reset password screen, and email verification screen. Set up Firebase. To set up Firebase for your Flutter project, go to console.firebasegoogle.com and then click on Add Project. Give it any project name that you like and click on Continue. Next, scroll a bit down, disable Google Analytics and click on Create Project. After some loading time, click on Continue. Now we need to link this Firebase project to our Flutter project, therefore click on this Android symbol. First we need to get the Android package name, therefore go to your Android app build Gradle file. Scroll a bit down until you see this application ID that you need to copy. Back in your browser, paste it inside and click on Register App. Next, download the Google Services JSON file. This file holds all the information to link your Firebase project to your Flutter project, therefore you need to drag this file inside of your Android app folder. In your browser, scroll again down and click on Next. Finally, we need to add some configurations to the build Gradle file, therefore copy this Google Services class path. Then go to the build Gradle file inside the Android folder. Inside this file you go to build script dependencies, and after this last dependencies you add this class path inside. Back in your browser, scroll a bit down and copy the line Apply Google Services. Now you need to go to the Android app folder and here you have another build Gradle file. Scroll all the way down until you come to the end of the file and paste this line Apply Google Services inside. Also go a bit up until you come to this default config and here you set the min SDK version to 21. In your browser you can scroll all the way down, click on Next and click on Continue to the console to complete this setup step. And lastly, to use Firebase you go to your pub/spec YAML file in your Flutter project. In my case I add the Firebase database Cloud Firestore to my pub/spec YAML file, save this file and get the dependencies. And finally, to set up Firebase for your Flutter project, go to the main method and here you change these 3 lines. Make sure to import the Firebase core library to initialize your Firebase app. Also make sure to stop your Flutter app and run it again. If Firebase was configured correctly, it will load your Flutter app. Otherwise, in case your Flutter app crashes, then you have missed some of the configuration steps showed in this video. Sign in. How to use Firebase Authentication in Flutter to log in a user via email and password, and we will also log out the user again. Firstly, make sure that you have set up a Firebase project and then you can go to the Authentication tab. Click on Get Started, choose Email and Password, enable email and password and click on Save. Secondly, on our page we create a login widget. Inside the login widget we create a column within the build method, then we create 2 text fields and below it we create 1 button. If we press on this button, then we call a method SignIn. And lastly, we call the method SignIn with email and password from the Firebase Auth package, whereas you need to supply an email and a password, and we take the email and password from our text fields. Therefore, I have created in my state an email and password controller, and the email controller is attached to a text field, as well as the password controller is also attached to a text field. To make use of the sign in with email and password method, therefore make sure that you also go to your pub/spec YAML file and under your dependencies you need to include the Firebase Auth package. Let's also go to the main page where we have implemented our login widget and we want to wrap the login widget inside of a stream builder, and then we use the Firebase Auth package to get the auth state changes, which means we can determine if the user was logged in. And if the user was logged in, then we want to display the home page. And if the user is logged out again, then we want to display the login widget. And at the end, we go back to our Firebase project to the Authentication tab and here to the users. And now we create a new user, therefore we click on Add User, give it an email, and also let's put here a password inside and click on Add User. Let's try it out with our Flutter app, put the email and password in your text field and click on Sign In. And then we go to the home page. So after a successful login, the stream builder will rebuild this widget and therefore it displays the home page. And inside of the home page, you can access the user information and we can also display it inside of our scaffold, so we access the user email and display it inside of our UI. Also, we can create a logout button below, and if we click on the sign out button, then we want to log out again from Firebase, and therefore you can call on Firebase Auth the sign out method. Before we click on the sign out button, let's also close this application and let's start it again. And you see the user is still logged into the application as long as he hasn't signed out yet. Therefore, let's click on sign out and then we go back to the sign in form. So to sum everything again up, the stream builder always takes care that if the user is signed in, then we display the homepage, and otherwise we display the login form that we are currently displaying. And here inside you can also add some other cases. So for example, if you are currently waiting, then you can add a loading indicator, or if during the login goes something wrong, then you can also add here some error message. At the end, we want to do some minor improvements. Therefore, let's go to the login widget, and here we go down to the sign in method, and we want to make sure that we wrap the sign in logic inside of a try catch. So in case something goes wrong, then we want to catch this error. Also, before we call the sign-in method, we want to show some loading indicator to the user. Therefore, we create a dialog and we display a loading indicator inside. After the login to Firebase, we want to hide this loading dialog again, and therefore we call on our navigator the pop_until method to hide this dialog. To make this work, you cannot use the navigator of context. Instead, you need to use a navigator key. Simply go to the main file to your material app, and inside of it we want to add a navigator key that we define here at the top. And with this, if I click this time on the sign in button, then we have a loading indicator until we are logged in. Sign up. How to use Firebase Authentication to build a sign up screen in Flutter for creating a user account with an email and a password. In the last video, we have created this login widget that you see here on the right side and with which we can sign in a user to Firebase. Now under the sign in button, we want to create a rich text widget. And with this, if we click on the sign up text, then we want to switch to the sign up screen. And therefore, if we click on this text span, then we want to listen to the on-tap handler. And then we want to call this on-clicked sign up. And this is what we want to handle outside of this widget. Therefore, I add this void callback. Next, within the main page where we have implemented this login widget, we want to exchange it by an auth page. And inside this auth page, we want to have a Boolean flag, and depending on if the flag is set to true, then we show the login widget. Otherwise, we want to show a new sign up widget that we want to create. And in both cases, we want to implement this on-clicked sign up. So if we click on this text and also on the sign up screen, we will implement something similar. And if this is the case that we click on it, then we want to toggle this is login field and basically change the status. And lastly, we only need to implement the sign up widget. And the sign up widget works exactly the same as the login widget. So right now, if I click on the sign up text, then we go to the sign up page, and this works exactly the same. So here we have also, again, two text fields. Below it, we have a button. This time it's only called sign up instead. And below it, we also have this rich text. However, the text is a bit different. So here it calls then login. And if we click on it, then we also call this widget on clicked sign in. So all in all, we can now toggle between the login screen and the sign up screen. And now if we click on the sign up button, then we want to create with this email and password that we have provided a new account on our Firebase authentication server. Therefore, if we click on the sign up button, we call the sign up method. And here inside, we call this time the create user with email and password method from the Firebase auth package. And the same as before, we need to put the email and password inside with which we want to create the user account. Also, before we create this account, we want to show again a loading indicator. And after we have created this account, we want to hide this loading indicator again. Let's also test it out. I'm on the sign up screen and I have given here an email and a password. And now if we click on sign up, then he should create a new account, and he is also logging us directly inside of this account. And also if we refresh the page within our Firebase console, then you see that he has created here this new account. Next, we want to do some minor improvements, such as if we click on the sign up button, then it should show us here an error in case we haven't completed the form. To add this validation, we go first of all to our email field and we change it to a text form field. And with this, you can add some validation for your email field. And we use here the email validator package to validate our email. And in case our email is not valid, then we want to show an error message, enter a valid email. Otherwise, the email is valid. And the same thing we also do for our password field. Here we change it to a text form field, add also a validator property. And here we make sure that the password has at least 6 characters. Otherwise, if it doesn't have 6 characters, then we show an error message. And lastly, to make this validation work of your text form fields, therefore we go up to the column which is wrapping both of these text form fields, and here we wrap it then inside of a form widget, give it some form key that we define within our state as this global key. And lastly, we can then use this form key inside of our SignUp method. Here we check then if our form is valid with the help of the form key, and if it is not valid, then we want to return this one and we will not execute this code to create a user account with Firebase. With this, if I click this time on the sign up button, then it says we need to put a valid email inside and a valid password. And once we enter a valid email and password, then we can again sign up our user account. Another issue that we need to handle is the case that we put an email inside that is already created within our Firebase Authentication server. If this is the case and I click on the sign up button, then he will not create this account because it is already created, and therefore we want to display an error message to the user that the account was already created. To create this error message, we simply go to the sign up method that is called if we click on the sign up button, and here in case something goes wrong during the sign up, then we are going here inside of this try catch. And here we want to simply display then this error message inside of our screen. Therefore, we want to create a new utils class to show a snack bar. Let's also create the utils class with the show snack bar method. Here we create a snack bar and this gets the text, which is in our case the error message. And then we use a messenger key to display the snack bar. Let's also define this messenger key here at the top, which is a global key. And lastly, within the main file, within the material app, we want to reference then this messenger key that we have created in our utils class. With this, after hot restarting the application, we can again click on the sign up button and we get this time an error message that the email is already in use, and also some other error messages are displayed. In case some errors occurs, we always display it to the user in the UI. For the login screen, we have exactly the same issue. So if we put an email inside that is not yet created within our Firebase Authentication server, and then we click on the sign in button, then we get no error message. And this is what we want to change. Simply go to the sign in method of the login widget, and here when we sign in the user and some error occurs, then we also want to display this error in our snack bar. With this, if I click this time on the sign in button, then we get an error message that there is no such user that we are currently trying to log in. Reset password. How to use Firebase Authentication to build a forgot password screen in Flutter for requesting a reset of the user password. Let's start at the login widget that we have created in the last videos here on the right side. And now inside the build method below our sign in button, we want to create a gesture detector with a text forgot password. So if we click on this forgot password text, then we want to navigate to the forgot password page. And this is a new page that we want to create. So let's create a widget forgot password page, and with this we can click on this forgot password text. Inside the build method, we want to create first of all a text form field, which is our email field, and this code is exactly the same as in the last videos where we have also some validation included. And below this text form field, we want to create a button with the text reset password. If we click on this button, we call a method verify email, and inside of it we call the send password reset email from the Firebase auth package, and inside of it we put then the text of our email field inside by accessing the email controller, which we have basically attached to our text form field and that I have created here at the top within our state. So all in all, if we call the send password reset email method, then to this email that we provide, an email will be sent to reset the password. We also want to give the user in our app some feedback, therefore we show a snack bar with the text that a password reset email was sent. Also, we make sure that we put our case inside of a try and catch, and in case some error occurs, then we want to show again a snack bar with the error message, similar to what we have learned in the last videos. Also, before we send the password reset email, we want to show inside of our UI a loading indicator that is showing as long as we need to execute this method. And after it, we can again hide the loading indicator by calling the pop until method, or within our error case, we call the pop method. Let's also try this example out. We put an email inside that we also have inside of the Firebase Authentication server. And then I click reset password. And now it says password reset email was sent. After this, you can go to your email client and you should get this password reset email, and inside of it you have this link on which you need to click. Then you can enter here a new password and click on save. And it says the password was changed successfully. Back on the sign in screen, you can enter this password that you have changed, and after this you click on sign in and you see it is working. We are signed in to our home area. Email verification. How to add Firebase email verification when a user signs up with his email and password in a Flutter app. Then this user needs to verify his email first to get full access to the app. So far we have created the SignUp page, and if we click on the SignUp button, then we call the SignUp method, and inside of it we call then this create user with email and password method on our Firebase Auth package, and inside of it we define an email. And this is the email that we want to verify right now. Therefore, inside of the main page, we have created a stream builder, and every time if we have created an account, then we are going to our home page. However, this time we also want to verify our email, and therefore we create a page in between. Inside this widget verify email page, we create a Boolean flag if the email is verified or not, and by default it is not verified. And within the build method, depending on this flag, if it is verified, then we show a home page, otherwise we will create another page instead. Next, within the initState method, we want to get the isEmailVerified flag, so we want to update it from our current user, and therefore it is important that we have created before this user already, because only on this user you can get this isEmailVerified flag. Now that we have this flag, if our email is already verified or not, we can decide what we want to do. If it is not verified, then we want to send a verification email. So let's also create this method. Inside of it, we get again the current user, and then we call on it the send email verification method. So you always need to have a user to also use this method send email verification. Otherwise, it is not working with Firebase and Flutter. In case something goes wrong, then we also want to catch it and show it inside of the snack bar within our UI. Let's also try it out. We put the email and password inside, and then we click on sign up. And then it goes first of all to the verify email page, and we also get an email within our email client, and inside of it you have a link with which you can verify your email. Before we click on this link, we want to check after we have sent the email verification, the status, if we have verified our email. Therefore, we check every 3 seconds a method check email verified. And we also want to put this timer inside of a variable within our state, and also make sure that you dispose this timer in case it is not used anymore. And now we want to create the method check email verified that is executed all 3 seconds. And inside of this method, we want to get then the status if our email is verified. Therefore, we can get the current user, and here we get the status if the email is verified. And the important thing is that we need to reload the user every time before we call this isEmailVerified, because the status can change, and therefore we want to get from the Firebase the new status after the email verification. And finally, we check if the email is verified, then we want to cancel our timer so that this code is not executed anymore. And with this, we check not anymore the email because it is already verified. Make sure to click on hot restart so that the init state method is called again, and with this we have created this timer that is right now in the background executing every 3 seconds, and it checks if our email is verified. Now we can go back to the email client, and because we have hot restarted the application, we also get another email, and inside of this email we click on this link. The browser opens up and it says your email has been verified, and once the email is verified it will automatically redirect to the home page. And this is because inside this check email verified method the flag is email verified is updated to true after we have verified our email, and with this we can go to our build method, which is rebuild, and then we display the home page instead of the verify email page. At the end we also want to improve this design of the verify email page. Therefore here inside of it we want to display first of all a text that a verification email has been sent to this email. And secondly, we also want to create a button so that the user has the possibility to click on this button to resend an email. Therefore, if we click on this button, then we want to call this method send verification email that we have created before. If you like, you can also check within your email button, first of all, if you can resend the email, because you don't want to allow the user to always click multiple times on this button. Therefore, we create within our state this Boolean flag if he can resend it. And finally, after we have sent the email verification to the user, then we want to set the flag can resend email to false. With this, the button that we have here on the right side will be deactivated, and after 5 seconds, we activate this button again. And lastly, below the resend email button, we want to create another button that is a cancel button. And if we click on this button, then we want to call the Firebase Auth sign out method. And with this, if we click on this cancel button, then we cancel the email verification process and go automatically back to the sign in page. So to sum everything up, first of all, we are on the sign up page, and when we click on the sign up button, then a new user account is created and we go to the verify email page. It is important to notice that the user is then already created within the Firebase Authentication tab under the user section. But before the user can enter our app, he needs to go to his email client and he needs to click on this link to verify his email. Also, if he clicks, for example, on cancel, and then he tries to sign into this account that was already created, then he will also go to the verification email page, and the user gets then also a new verification email, and the only way how he can enter the app is by clicking on this verification link. And now once he has verified his email, he will be signed into our home page. And of course, once he has verified his email once and we sign out again, and then if the user logs in again and he has already verified his email, then he will automatically go to the homepage and he doesn't have to verify his email again. At the end, I want to emphasize again that before the user has verified his email, he is already created inside of this Firebase Authentication user tab. And this is because you can only send the verification email if you have created before a user object. However, inside of your Flutter app, you can always access on this user the property email verified, and then you can check if he gets more access or not. So you can use this inside of your app. And within the Cloudflare Store security rules, you can give the user read and write access in case he has, for example, only his email verified.